no hate to using the training language, but one of my colleagues here at Wharton, who is one of the best, Stephanie Creary, uses that language all the time. I joke with her. She knows I'm going to say this, but she's not doing the dog training thing that I'm talking about. If you bring us in, we will get this is your problems are solved, and you don't need to do anything else. It's these are the 5 steps, and we're done.
I wonder what you think about this. Is a comment I hear quite a lot, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but some practitioners will use the phrase, "I am working, so I'm trying to work myself out of a job," is what it culminates, right? Like after I'm done, like you won't need me. And there's a sense of me that appreciates the sentiment that lies inside of that, which is living in this idyllic world where bias and understanding and inclusion really is at the center of it. But there's another part of me that feels like, to a certain extent, that statement ignores the reality of an ever-changing society that is constantly moving forward, and the problems evolve as we move forward, that we'll never quite get to that point. And that's the beauty of it, right? As a society, we evolve and will need to change and adapt for new generations and the problems that they're facing or trying to tackle. But would love your thought on kind of that concept of, when that's said, what you take away from it.
I mean, so you take me back by saying that, and there are a lot of opportunities where people say, I'm successful when I work myself out of business. That what you bring me back to this again. This would be a whole completely different show, but that's at the heart of critical race theory. That Derek Bell, one of the key deliverables that he provided is, we can't talk about this unless we accept that racism is permanent, the permanence of racism. And that's striking to think about. That I feel like generationally we're getting better, but then as we described, a lot of people are getting slicker, a lot of things are happening. A lot of this Trump era exposure of, it was there all along, we just didn't see it. But it does seem that things are getting better. But the stake in the ground that Derek Bell and the originators of critical race theory gave us is that racism is permanent. So start building from there. And it's a lot of what I write about is this idea. I did a lot of work with the Rooney Rule in the NFL, and the idea that you have to be vigilant and agile and ready to deal with it constantly. That the what are the firefighters concerned about? Are the embers going to come back up again? You think you got it.
Yeah.
The bar of soap in the bathtub. Well, it slipped away again. So that's what I would like to be more optimistic, and Derek Bell's words are daunting, but I think they remain true.
Yeah, I think it is a good premise to start with, and I appreciate that clarity for me, because I think it's something I struggle with. Like I understand that the idealism and the want to believe in that, but also the realism of understanding like each generation will have new things. I think an excellent example of what this new generation will have to face is there's this insidious thing around alpha male culture, which is thinly veiled sexism, just thinly veiled. Well, if you're a real alpha male, your women will submit to you. And it's this conversation, this dialogue that we were having 50 years ago that now has been put into this insidious nature where they don't outright say, oh, well, of course I respect women, but I just believe, in a real relationship, this is how it should be. And I think this will be some of the things this new generation will be facing, where it's a little bit more insidious, it's a little bit more slippery, and you really have to understand, I think, the underlying societal cogs of, okay, but why is what they're saying? Because you may have an understanding of, okay, that doesn't feel right. Like, you shouldn't be saying that. But it takes a better understanding of sociology, really, in our society to understand, what are they really saying? What's the history behind kind of what those people are getting at? Well, Kenneth, I'm going to preface and queue up kind of our last question here. And the last question is, what is the missing piece for diversity, equity, inclusion? We know there's not one piece, there are many, but what's the one thing you want our viewers and listeners to be thinking about and take away?
I'm going to go back to Derek Bell again. since I brought him up, that he's always a good resource. Professor Derek Bell, I think one of the earliest pieces in writing about this whole space, said that really what we're seeking is convergence, that we need to have the interest converge of all parties concerned. And if you're trying to find solutions, you need to strive for that interest convergence, and you need to highlight where the interests come together. So why is it a good idea to do these things, to have a diverse board, to have women at the highest level of the company, that the interest convergence for one person in leadership might be the bottom line and profitability, and provide them with studies that show that. Don't be so shy or arrogant or whatever it is to say, if it's not a hearts and minds decision, I don't want them to make it. But for others, that's where the interest will converge, that people will feel good and they'll say, I see that provides happiness for a group of people I haven't traditionally supported, so I will do it and I will support that. So for people to think more about, again, that foundational piece that Bell put forward to us, interest convergence, and to operate in that kind of way.
Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Do you have any, where can people find you, and what kind of upcoming events do you have that our viewers should be aware of?
As you noted at the outset, so I just took over as the senior advisor to the dean at the Wharton School. So you can find me at the Wharton School pretty easily. Just go to the website, look for me. And we're just getting underway with this Coalition for Equity and Opportunity. And the thing that I'll leave people with, the dean is very serious about this being a coalition, and for finding ways to work with people to deliver what it is a business school should be doing on equity and opportunity in the broadest sense. So all those different races and genders, I want you to name everybody to fall under that. And also very serious about trying to deliver best practices to business and to learn from business what practices have worked to address these issues of equity and opportunity.
Thank you for listening to Finding Diversity, the Missing Piece. You can expect new episodes monthly. And if you like the show, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. This helps others like you find the show. Finding Diversity, the Missing Piece is powered by Cape Inclusion. It's produced by Studio Deed Podcast Production, directed by Prescott Long, and hosted by me, Justice Thompson. To learn more about how you can get started and to book a demo, visit us at capeinclusion.com.